There are 4 things about learning Greek in the modern age that make this the best time to learn Greek of any time in history. Let me explain those to you in this video. Hi, my name is Daryl Burling from Master New Testament Greek, and I help people like you to learn and master the text of the New Testament. So if that sounds interesting to you, I invite you to subscribe to this channel and click the notify bell to make sure you're told of when new videos are released. So the modern world we live in today gives us some real advantages. When you think back to people who learnt Greek in the past, such as Desiderius Erasmus or Martin Luther, or even in the last 100 years, A.T. Robinson, people like this, these people have all struggled with Greek because of the age they're in. By comparison to us, there's some real significant advantages that we have today that really make this the best time to master the Greek of the New Testament. And this gives the modern church this huge advantage over every previous generation. And so let me take you through just 4 of these advantages that make such a big difference for you and for me as we seek to master the Greek of the New Testament. The first one is vocabulary. Now, vocabulary is critical to being able to learn to read the New Testament, and there's no easy way to acquire vocabulary. It's just one of those things you have to work hard on. But in previous generations, if you wanted to learn vocabulary, what you would have to do is you would have to go and write out vocabulary cards, get a piece of paper or some cardboard from somewhere, write it out, that's if you can find it, and work to memorize that. Maybe you'd write a whole lot on a list and fold the list down and unfold it as you went through the different words, whatever it was. There was some manual way of doing that. And this has some huge drawbacks. For instance, you have to remind yourself to review that vocabulary on a regular basis. And not only that, but they didn't even really know how memory worked. So they would have to work all this out on the fly. Today we have psychological research that teaches us about memory and helps us to see methods that are going to help us to manage our memory and therefore maintain the review cycle that we need to think about and need to hold in check for learning vocabulary. So this gives us a huge opportunity today to actually have our vocabulary nailed down for us and review it at the right intervals. They didn't have that, and so they were limited by that one thing alone. Not only that, but when you're reviewing vocabulary like this, and you're carrying your vocabulary around with you, you're limited to what you can carry wherever you go. Now, there are over 5,000 words in the Greek New Testament. Even if you're going to get a modest degree of fluency, you're going to go down and say 20 words in the Greek New Testament. Not that they had word lists like this back in the day. That means you've got to carry at least 900 to 1,000 words around with you so you can review these things regularly. That really is quite limiting. So this is this is something that's really difficult. Not only that, but the physical form of the cards actually would give you a clue as to the meaning of words. So for instance, if you're looking at a paper flashcard and you look at that word and it's in the same order each time that you come to look at that word, the order itself is actually going to become a mnemonic device that's going to remind you of the word that's coming next and the meaning of that word. Similarly, if the flashcard gets damaged, that's actually going to make that card something you're going to remember as well. Oh, this word, it has that fold in the corner. I remember what that is because of the fold in the corner, not because of the word. And so these are the things that would make reading and learning the vocabulary a little bit more difficult. You're not learning it as well as you might learn it otherwise. Whereas modern vocabulary management is much easier. You can do this now on your mobile phone, on your iPhone or Android device. And these devices, with the apps that they have today, they have these algorithms built into them. So they will automatically tell you what you need to review and when. And this just makes learning your vocabulary so much easier. You don't have to think about, what did I review last time? What do I need to review this time? You don't have to worry about separating all your cards into different decks like previous generations had to. Your phone can manage all of that for you so that you're just looking at the minimum number of cards you need to see on a day-by-day basis based on where you're at with your vocabulary. Not only that, but your phone can carry around literally tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of words. Not that I recommend you do that, not that you need to do that, but your phone can carry every single word you need to know in the Greek New Testament. You don't have to worry about carrying different sets of cards or anything like that. Your phone can manage all of that easily and simply, and it stays in your pocket with the same size. Isn't that wonderful? But not only this, too, in addition to this, when people create different flashcards, it makes it easy to download those cards and share them. And this gives you the opportunity to not have to actually write the cards out. You can download somebody else's cards from, an app or a site or something like that, and that helps you as well. And not only that, but finally, the other advantage that modern devices give you is that you don't get cards folded up on your device, which means you don't get those mnemonic, repetitive sort of reminders, be it the order of the words is always the same and you always remember which one comes after which, or whether it's just damage or distinctions in the cards themselves that give them away as what that word might mean. And so you don't get the same mnemonic issues that you would on a phone, that you would on a piece of paper or on some manual mode. And so that's the first one, really, is that vocabulary management, vocabulary acquisition is so much better today than it has ever been before. Can you imagine trying to learn 1,000 words of the Greek New Testament on paper flashcards going back a dozen years or 24 years, 20 years, 30 years, something like that? Can you imagine learning all the words of the New Testament so you can actually read the text? How hard that would be. And not only that, that you don't have the benefits of modern research to help you understand how often you should be reviewing cards and those kind of things as well. So vocabulary acquisition is a key distinction that we can really take advantage of in the modern age that will give us a huge advantage over previous generations in terms of learning Greek. And it really speeds up the amount of time that it takes for us to learn the Greek of the New Testament. The second one is that we today get to learn and take advantage of literally hundreds or thousands of years of Greek grammar. So there are Greek grammars over the last 200-300 years. There's been a whole lot of Greek grammars that have been written. And as each generation comes, they look at the previous generation's grammars and they build on those and expand on those. And so what we get is, as in the modern age that we're in, we're now at this point where we get to take advantage of all this research that's been done over the years, that's built on one set of research after another. And not only that, but even on learning styles, how people have learnt through that time. And so modern grammars come with all of this experience built into them. You don't have to worry about, how is this practice in the classroom, because a lot of these grammars are built on years and years of research and years of teaching Greek before people come to actually teach Greek through their own grammar. And so these works are well and truly tried and tested. And not only that, but you have a variety of different types of grammars. You have grammars for inductive study. You have grammars for more deductive study. You have grammars that mix the two together. You have grammars that are much more exhaustive with a lot more detail on them, and you have much lighter grammars. So you have a huge amount of flexibility in the types of books that you use and resources you have available to learn the Greek of the New Testament. And never before has this been available to us. And even the same is true in intermediate Greek. Books like Dan Wallace's Greek Grammar Beyond the Basics are fantastic resources. Prior to Wallace, it was A.T. Robertson. And prior to that, they're not quite as exhaustive. And so they're just getting bigger and better, and there's more and more information in them all the time, which allows us to get a greater grasp of the language as we learn the text, rather than having to sort of figure it all out on our own and build on, our own experience. We can take our own experience and use the experience of others and draw all of that together. And so that's a huge advantage that we have. So the first advantage we have is we have the ability to really master the vocabulary of the New Testament, even by brute force using our phones, which was something that is different from the past. We have wonderful modern grammars that are really helpful for allowing us to build on all of the work that's been done in the generations leading up to our time. Another advantage we have today is the modern parsing tools. Now, again, if you wanted to learn parsing in the past, you would have no choice except to master the paradigms. And what's taken place as the years have gone on and each generation has built this new generation of Greek grammars is that each generation has simplified the rules and simplified down the paradigms that you need to memorize, reducing them to a bare minimum that you need to know, which means that you don't have to learn anywhere near as much, in terms of parsing, as previous generations would. And so this makes a big difference as well. And not only that, there are now literally dozens of apps and websites out there that you can go to practice your parsing. You can go through those and you can test yourself, and they will give you a bunch of words with a bunch of different prefixes and suffixes and tense formatives that you can just practice on to see what things are and test your knowledge. And that gives you an idea of how to actually continue to build on what you need to know. Are you ready to move to the next stage in Greek? This gives you a huge advantage over previous generations. Never before has there been this ability to test yourself to the extent that we have today and really drill yourself on the parsing in a kind of a half-live environment that's going to grade you as you go. Not only that, but in the previous generations, all you had really was just a drill sheet. You'd write out these paradigms over and over, and because there were so many, and because it's now been simplified, even if you're going to do that drill, and I encourage you to do that because those manual drills are really helpful because they engage more of your senses. But even as you do those today, there are far fewer of them to do, which means that you're not going to spend as much time doing that as you would have previously. So vocabulary acquisition, learning from the best over the years. Thirdly, making parsing a breeze is one of the things that these parsing tools have really helped us with. And finally, another advantage is community. One of the difficulties in the past, and even you think about yourself now, how many people where you live and where you go to church are really interested in learning Greek? My bet would be, unless you live in a town where there's a very big seminary, not very many. And that's very common. And so throughout history, people like Erasmus and guys like this who have wanted to really grasp the Greek and grow in it have really depended on going from where they live to somewhere else to learn the language, and then they go back to where they were and they are kind of alone. And today, this is something that has radically changed. And this is one of the benefits of the internet. You are no longer isolated by geography when it comes to sharing interests with other people with the same interests. So community is a great way to connect with other people, to get encouragement from other people, to encourage those who are behind you and to share with them what you've learned and how you've done things so that they can benefit, and to take the same advice from people who are ahead of you. There has never been a better time than today to get this kind of connection and to have relationships with other people who are enjoying and learning Greek in the same way. So here's what I want you to take away from all of what I've just said. There has never been a better time in history to learn to read the Greek of the New Testament than our modern age. And so I want to encourage you to consider doing exactly that, to ask yourself, is this something the Lord is calling you to, or is this something that you would help you to grow in your knowledge and love of the Lord? And if that's the case, then I would love to be able to help you. To do so, just go over to masterntgreek.com and sign up there onto the mailing list, and that way you'll get to find out the offers and opportunities that are available for you to learn the Greek of the New Testament. So let me ask you this. If you've already started learning Greek, which of these four things, vocabulary, tools, or grammars, or parsing, or perhaps communities, which of these has been the most helpful or impactful in your journey to learn Greek? Leave a message below. Maybe there's a grammar that you found particularly helpful. Maybe there's a tool that you love that has been really helpful. Leave it in the comments below, and I look forward to hearing from you, because these tools are a blessing not just to you, but also to me and to others who are learning Greek as well. And so I want to really encourage you just to leave a comment below. If this video has been helpful, again, I just want to encourage you to subscribe to this channel and hit the notify bell when you do so, and that will make sure you're notified when new videos come out. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. See you soon.